storks. Now, like any good parent, at some point these storks are going to have to let their offspring fly the nest, as it were. Of course, as responsible parents, they've given them a good start in life. They've given birth to them. They've given them a good grounding in which they can then start to build on their own life and their own journey, if you will, and make a name for themselves. Which coincidentally is not so dissimilar to what Volvo cars have done with Polestar, because Polestar is very much its own company now, with its own unique cars, as it forges its way through a new electrified world. Welcome to this week's road test review, welcome to the new Polestar 3, and as always, welcome to AutoEV. Now, as a brand, Polestar have been around for a few years now. They first started out as a motorsport engineering company that built touring cars for Volvo. And it was at that point Volvo thought, we should really buy you and bring you in-house and turn you into sort of like a performance arm, which is exactly what they did. But Geely Holdings, the parent company that owns all of them, decided at some stage that they wanted to separate Polestar out and make them into sort of like an electrified car company that's going to take on the world that includes Tesla and BMW and all the other legacy manufacturers out there. Now, of course, it started with the really rather stylish Polestar 1, but that was a hybrid coupe, a very expensive carbon-bodied hybrid GT coupe, but it made the name Polestar a global brand. But it was the Polestar 2, the car that then followed that up, a fully electrified four-door saloon car that took on the Tesla Model 3 and really made people take notice of Polestar. And of course now we have their third product from them, rather imaginatively called the Polestar 3. And of course it's an SUV, it's quite a big SUV, it's an E-segment SUV. And I'll talk about the cars that it competes with a little bit later. But should we be disappointed that it is just another electric SUV? Or does this one stand apart from all the others, and should you take notice of it? But before we start any of that, let's take a quick snapshot at what the Polestar 3 is all about. Well, like I said, it's Polestar's E-segment all-electrified SUV. So it's a large premium badged SUV that's going to compete with the likes of the BMW iX and Mercedes EQE SUVs. It sits just under 5 metres long with a just under 3 metre long wheelbase. In terms of battery size, the car comes with a 111 kilowatt hour battery, giving an indicated 390 miles up on the WLTP scale. When first deliveries start in the UK, you will only be able to get it in a dual motor variant. However, you will be able to have either the standard car with 490 brake horsepower, or option it with the performance pack, which elevates that to 517 brake horsepower. And prices start from just over £75,000 to just under £80,000 before any options are fitted. Now, you heard me mention two names there of legacy manufacturers with premium badges, BMW and Mercedes-Benz. Two manufacturers that Polestar are very much taking aim at with this car. But that's not the only ones that they've got on their sites, because obviously we've got the likes of Audi, Tesla, Jaguar and Porsche as well to contend with. So how's the Polestar 3 going to shape up to those? Well, of course, the only way we're going to find that out is by putting it through the road test that actual car buyers trust when it comes to choosing their next electric vehicle. It's the AutoEV one. Design, styling, aesthetics, call it what you like, but it is a real trademark of Polestar. Now, although they are owned by a Chinese company, they are very much a Swedish company. Polestar started in Sweden, and their design studio and their engineering departments are all based out there as well. So this is a real sort of like crisp, clean, exactly kind of Scandi design as you'd expect that the Swedes have always been renowned for. What they've done is they use the word pure a lot in their sort of like in their marketing buff when they were giving us presentation. In other words, they can start with a clean sheet of paper. They're not a legacy manufacturer that has a heritage as such that they need to follow. They can start from afresh, which is really, really key to making this car look the way that it does. It's a big SUV, but it doesn't look it. They've really taken the height right down, and it starts at this frontal area here. Now, you can tell there's a family resemblance to obviously cars such as the Polestar 1 and the Polestar 2. This is the 3. The Polestar 4 takes that design even further. Now, I've driven the Polestar 4 while I've been out here in Spain. I've done a full road test review of that car, which is their D-segment coupe SUV. But I can't tell you anything about it because that's embargoed until next month. So how are you going to find out about that? Well, that's simple. You press the subscribe button that's down there. Go on, do it now while you've got it in your mind. Press that and then hit the wee bell button, because that means you'll get notified when that video's uploaded and it's gone live. So just go and do it now. Yeah? Okay, done it? Can we go on? Yeah, brilliant. Right, so what Polestar have done, if you sit all their cars next to one another, and remember, we're still yet to see the production version of the Polestar 5, but we saw it as a concept as the Precept, and the Polestar 6, which we saw as the O2 Roadster. You can tell they're part of the same family, but they've got their own individual looks. And I think that's key in this world. They haven't followed the Mercedes. They haven't fallen into that trap that Mercedes have, where the EQE looks like an EQS that's probably looking like an EQC when it comes out. None of that malarkey, nor have they been controversial at BMW with their styling. This is a phenomenally good looking car, I think. Right, signature headlamps here. The Thor hammer headlights are now separating out in Polestar to be dual blades. So what you have is these dual blade headlights here. And within there, there is a full LED matrix, high definition LED lights down at the bottom there that have some ridiculous amount. It's something like 1.3 or 13 million microscopic mirrors in the lamps so that they don't dazzle oncoming road users or pedestrians. How did they fit them all in there? Because it's quite a small lamp. Anyway, I'll take their word for that. We move across here to this part, which is called the Smart Zone, which is a unique Polestar trademark. They've trademarked it. And basically what it means is, because you don't need a grille with an electric car, what they've now said is that this part of the car can go from providing cooling to providing seeing. So it goes from cooling to seeing. Radar in there, radar sensor in there, which has its own heating element in it, there. Little camera there, and there's more radars coming along here as that technology, that sort of like autonomy sort of like starts to sort of like filter into our lives, unfortunately. Polestar are already building it into the Smart Zone area. Really clever. Of course, you do need some cooling. You need to cool the batteries. And as you can see, that is down here. Jump up to this bit here. This is the air blade. Now, it's not dissimilar to what Jaguar did with the I-Pace, but this bit here is almost like a kind of front spoiler. So the airflow goes in there and then goes up over the top of the car. This is a beautiful, sort of like slippery shape, but they've managed to make the function of aerodynamics work with the aesthetics of looking good, I think. And of course, on top of that, you get your trademark matte body colour finished Polestar badge. I think this is an absolute stonking looking car. Now, as we move around the side, again, you're going to see the fact that the car sits a lot lower than its kind of contemporaries, if you like. To give you an idea of the size, I keep talking about E-segment SUVs. Audi e-tron, the Q8 e-tron, this car is ever so slightly shorter than it, but its wheelbase, it's about, I think it's 10 millimetres shorter than the Audi, but its wheelbase is nearly 50 millimetres longer. So they've really concentrated a lot on interior space. But look at the height of it, it's a lot lower. And as I say, look at this frontal area here. It's not that big bluff front end like you get in an EQE SUV. It's a really sleek nose that takes airflow up over the roof there. You get a nice little sort of side marker light here, which I really like. Now, this car's a performance pack car, and you can tell that because A, it's got the big 22-inch alloy wheels on it, but it also has the gold brake calipers, the big Brembo brakes on it, the gold dust caps, which I absolutely love, with the big sticky Pirelli tyres on it. Black cladding down here, which obviously follows on from the wheel arch, as you can see. And again, it just reduces the visual bulk of the side of it. But this is not a tall car. I am 5'8", and I can see over the top of this car. But as I say, it's a large premium SUV. basically the designers have looked at SUVs and gone, yes, people need interior space, of course they do, but do they need as much as most manufacturers are giving them? And what they've done is they've shrunk, they've pulled it like that. So it's, as it's pulled the sort of like the wheels out like that, it's almost pulled the roof down, but it doesn't affect interior space. It's just brilliant stuff. Flush door handles. Now these retract when obviously when the car's driving, obviously when you lock it, and they're different to the Polestar 2s and the Polestar 4s as well. So they're doing 3 different types of door handles on the cars. Now that's going to cost, but again, it's the attention to detail, because they say, well, that's what handle we want on this car. They're not just going to stick something on there, like, because they could get it manufactured cheaply because they already make it for the 2 or for the 4. No, they design its own unique door handles. Great. You get a little sticker down there telling you obviously what you've got. You've got a Polestar 3 with a 111 kilowatt hour battery and 380 kilowatts of power. Look at the window line here as it sweeps up. Now this is maybe the only bit where we're going to maybe find a little bit of fault in terms of that over the shoulder visibility, because that is quite a small kind of rear window line. But look at the way the roof drops back into this gorgeous big roof spoiler at the back. And again, a really kind of low rear end to the car. Stunning. It's an SUV. Frameless door mirrors, forgot to mention them. Yeah, got them. And loads of cameras on the car as well. There's lots of safety tech on it. I will talk about that later on. But in terms of design, as we say in Scotland, it's a belter. And it's no different around the back. Another really clever bit of aero work up here. Much like the front air blade on the bonnet, you've got the same on the rear spoiler. So actually there's a gap between the roof, obviously, and the spoiler, and there's some little veins up in there, which I'll try and put some B-roll up so you can see, obviously for airflow direction. So that is lovely, and that just takes the airflow out over the car. And obviously you've got this sort of like underfoot, like smooth sort of like diffuser area here. So as the airflow comes round, it just all kind of really sleek, really clever. And of course that helps with efficiency and range. And again, that's another thing. Reducing the bulk of the car is going to help with it achieve a good range and good efficiency. So it's not just for aesthetics, they've really put some thought into this. It's not a big bluff shape trying to push through the air. Obviously a rear wiper, which I'm really chuffed about. It has got quite a shallowish rear screen. That's the downside. Now the Polestar 4 doesn't have a rear screen at all. It has a camera, but you get the rear screen as you would expect on any other car in the 3. Again, to hear my thoughts on whether or not that camera works, you're going to have to watch Polestar 4 review, which is coming out next month. So keep an eye out for that. Again, we see the kind of Polestar light signature, which has been kind of refined from the 2, where it's quite big on the 2, it's going to really kind of narrowed down. And the 4 has its own kind of unique style at the back, where it doesn't have that return, it just kind of drops there. But again, you can tell what it is that you're looking at. There's no model designation on the back of Polestars. Again, you just get the matte finished body colour badge, which is really quite nice. Of course, you get your high mounted camera there, and all the lights are in here. All the lights are sort of like, you know, neatly integrated there, apart from your high level brake light, which is up there. Following on from obviously around the side and front, you get your cladding as you'd expect on an SUV around it, and of course just little bits sort of like these bits here that are just going to help with the airflow just around the back end of the car. As I say, I think it's an absolute, as my granny used to say, it's a wee stoter, but it's not that wee, is it? Because as I say, it's a big SUV. I love it. I think this is the best looking car in its class. But what do I know? I'm not a car designer. I'm not buying one of these. You might be though. What do you think? As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this, I have done a sneak peek with this car. So I have a lot of this, if you've watched that video, a lot of this will be duplicated, so apologies, but it's worthwhile going over this car again. So you've got all the full facts and figures of it. So, practicality wise, what have we got? 484 litres of boot space available to you, which is a bit down on the BMW iX, which is 500 litres, and that's not all that great considering the size of the car. But this is a good usable shape, and I'm going to talk a bit more about its practicalities before we move on. Plus you've also got additional storage up at the front, which you don't get with the BMW. It's got a split folding rear seat, a 60-40 split rear seat, and you've got a wee load through there as well. If you fold the seats down, it takes you up to 1,411 litres. I think I've got my numbers right there. So it's a reasonably kind of big space in terms of its overall capacity. But the boot space as it stands, as I say, it's not the biggest in its class, but as I say, that's a lot to do with the styling. What you do have is a very large kind of opening here, you know, so it goes right up into the roof. So if you are loading kind of boxes, you know, or stuff like that, you have got quite a big space there. And as I say, there's some nice little practical touches. You've got some underfloor storage here. And look, if I move my bag out the way, let me just do that, you can split sort of like the boot there, look. So you can have sort of like a taller item there because you've got some underfloor storage there as well. So, and then of course anything that's in that bit doesn't slide backwards and forwards. So that's quite practical. I like that. And that's something that Volvo do, so that's obviously come from there. You've got little kind of hooks on the side there. But you know, I'm talking about a lot about design detail with Polestar. This is the kind of thing that I mean. It's the little chrome lashings. They're just nicely kind of oily damped there. You know, when they go back, you've got a bit of resistance. I like that. And it's the same with the load cover. Look at it, you know, just when you let it go, it just, oh, I like stuff like that. That's really nice. You get a little first aid kit there, and as I say, you've got a ski hatch through. So as I say, not the biggest in its class, but it's not a bad sort of like load space as I say. Now the car also comes with air suspension as standard, which does mean that by a touch of a button, I can lower it. So you're not, I mean, it's still quite a, you know, a height, it's above my knee level, but if you're lifting boxes up, you don't have, you know, there's much of a height to lift it into, because you see, you can lower the height of the car. It's a 60mm drop in height from its lowest setting, which I'll talk about when we're driving, to its highest setting, because it has an off-road mode as well. And you've also as well got an electric tow bar. Ta-da! And the car will tow 2,200 kilos of an unbraked trailer as well. So that's there as well. So not too bad at all. Right. Now we're getting to the main sort of reason why you would buy a car like this. And in terms of that, it is practicality in terms of obviously space inside. Now, like I said, really long wheelbase, longer, 50mm longer than the Audi Q8 e-tron. And it is vast back here. Plus, you have a completely flat floor. Now, as I said, this is a bespoke electric platform that this sits on. It's Volvo's SPA2 platform, if you really want to know, that it shares. But as I say, please don't think of it just as a Polestar badged Volvo. It is not that. It is its own unique car. What I was talking about earlier as well in terms of the wheels being pushed all the way back, you've actually got a 50-50 weight distribution for this car. So they've focused all the weight very low in the car and towards the centre. So it is an evenly balanced 50-50 weight distribution, which is absolutely key when you're building a sports car. So why would you do it in an SUV, a family SUV? Well, we'll get onto that when we talk about how it drives. Right, back seat space. Just huge back here. It is absolutely vast. That's my driving position. I'm 5'8". So 6 foot. If anybody's 6 foot and they come back, there's loads of space. And I've got space to put my feet underneath. Completely flat floor. 3 across, no problem whatsoever. Flip down armrest for extra comfort. Flip out cup holders for your bottles and stuff. Marvellous. Huge amount of headroom as well. So big glass panoramic sunroof, fixed, it doesn't open. So fixed panoramic sunroof. And it goes up to just like at the top of my head, where the structure then starts to kind of slope down. So they have maximised headroom as far back as they possibly can. But if I sit straight on, as I say, I'm 5'8", there's still loads of space to go. I mean, an outstretched hand's worth of space above me. That's huge. Rear climate controls in the back, obviously, as you expect, some face vents down there, but also some up in the door. Nice little map reading lights with a nice kind of soft touch button there, and some coat hooks on the door. Big door bins, which are also rubber lined in the bottom. Thank you, Polestar, I love that. USB-C charging ports, 2 of, down at the back of this centre console. And you've got your kind of rigid airline seat style mat pockets in the back. And again, they're just tactile in the way that they just go back in. It's like they're damped nicely. You know, it's all been thought out. Now, I'm going to move in, when I move into the front, I'm going to talk a lot about sustainability, because as well as design and aesthetics, and obviously engineering. Sustainability is a big keyword with Polestar, and this car is huge on sustainability in terms of what they've done. This car, they have managed to extract in its construction, they've managed to reduce its construction output by 8.5 tons of CO2e over the Polestar 2 when it was launched, and they've managed to reduce that car as well now. Just really clever use of materials and really thinking about how to build a car. So hats off to you, Polestar. You've done an amazing job with terms of that. And it's part of the reason why you got our Innovation Award back in the 2023 AutoEV Awards, just for your focus on that sustainability, because that is key with buyers these days. And you can tell that there's little messages all around here. So this car's got the biotech, microtech material. It's 100% fossil-free PVC, 3.9 kilograms of CO2e per metre squared, tells you on there. Don't know what that means, but seemingly it's very, very good. If you do go for the Napa leather, which is an option on the car, whilst it is natural leather, it's done through with Bridge of Weir. And what they've done is they've got 100% sustainable, traceable animal welfare statistics that they feed back to. So in other words, the animals that are used for the leather inside Polestar cars via Bridge of Weir, the big focus there is on their animal welfare, and obviously, you know, how they provide that leather. So again, it's drilling down to those details that you've got to admire about Polestar. But this, it's vast. It feels luxurious back here because there's so much space. Right, we move up to the interior, the driving environment and front passenger environment. And what you have is a sort of like, again, like the exterior styling, a sort of progression of Polestar that we've kind of seen before. Now, the Polestar 3 gets the portrait orientated infotainment screen, 14.5 inches. The Polestar 4 flips this round to a landscape format. What's better? I'm not sure. I was driving all day in the Polestar 4 yesterday and going, oh yeah, this feels much more kind of natural. And then I've been in this today going, actually, I really like this. So there's a little bit of, I'm kind of undecided about it, but this is quite cool. It's not quite as customizable as they've gone in the Polestar 4, which obviously you'll see in that road test review, but it's still very, very good with what it works. Now, it's a Qualcomm Industries Snapdragon processor thing, Google operated, Google-based operating system, so Google Maps, things like that. You are going to get wireless Apple CarPlay as well with it, so that's coming on it, but it does use a Google-based system. Obviously, you get things like inbuilt Spotify and inbuilt Tidal. Now, whilst I'm talking about music, it's got a Bowers & Wilkins audio system in here, which is an option with 25 speakers. 25 speakers. It's got one up there as well, this kind of projection speaker. It's got them in the head restraints, these seats. Where the heck are they putting 25 speakers? They've got them in the roof, for goodness sake. This is ridiculous. I mean, it sounds incredible. 1,610 watts of amplification power. And it comes with Dolby Atmos as standard as well. Phenomenal. That's not available on Spotify, because Spotify doesn't do Dolby Atmos yet, I'm told. So if you're listening in Tidal and things like that, then you can get it on that. And it has that inbuilt as well. Let me just quickly go through this here, because I want to talk a little bit about this screen, because screens are a bit of a thing here, and you'll notice there isn't a huge amount of buttons in the car, and that might put a lot of people off. Don't be too concerned, because I quite like how Polestar do this. So you've got your home screen here, so you've got your big map. And then here, now they called it something, bear with me, I'm just going to jump onto my notes here, because they told me how this is laid out. The guy who designed it all was here this morning, and he told me how it was all laid out. And I bet you I haven't written it down. I thought I did. Here we go. Yeah, so you've got your map here. Then you've got your two app widgets, okay? So you've got your media here and my telephone there. So again, if I'm going on to my telephone, I just press that and it comes up. So that's what I have there. So you see that? You've got your map there and then your two widgets there. Then you go to your quick actions bar. So this is the things that you've maybe last used. So Polestar, Spotify, range and trip meter, cameras, adjustment. So if you want to adjust steering wheel, mirrors, things like that, it's done through here, but that's that shortcut button, you do it there. you see? And then you choose your left or your right, and then use this here to adjust. Power fold mirrors, then go onto your steering wheel, and it shows you what to do. What they design is quite clever, because on all of these things, you can see what they do is they give you a little animation. So it's sort of, oh, what did I do there? It gives you a little animation of what it actually means. So if you go onto something in the menu, you don't know what it is. Let's say, for instance, where was it? The driving, for instance. You've got these 3 little buttons here, yeah? So if you want to see suspension feel, which I'll talk about when we're driving, standard, nimble or firm, you press these 3 little dots, and you see it gives you this animation of what standard, nimble and firm means with its... That's brilliant. I like that. And what it means is that when the orange is lit, that's the section that's on. So they use colour to determine what it's on. The same thing with the font that they use. It's always the same font through the whole car, and they only use it in 4 sizes. And it's all laid out in a grid fashion, so everything is neat, organised. I love that. Right, so that's your quick, what did I say there? Quick actions bar, and then at the bottom is your systems bar. So your home screen, which obviously we're on there, you can then go straight to your tiles. So if you want to adjust settings, Spotify, Tidal, YouTube, that's going to be there, pairing your phone up, radio, that type of thing. Then you've got your climate system, which you can go, which is permanently on. So you can choose heated seat, heated steering wheel. You can up and down your climate, your temperature from there as well, and your fan speed. They've got manual adjustment of the vents, which I do like, which is nice, but you can obviously control where the airflow goes in this one here. The other thing that the car has is a sensor for interior movement, which is linked to the climate control system. And I'm told, again, it's the first car to have this. So whilst Tesla have the dog mode, what the Polestar has is it detects if you've left something behind. And if the interior temperature goes above a certain temperature or drops below a certain scale, it will switch either the air conditioning on or the heating on, so that it doesn't cause either heat stroke or hypothermia. Just clever. I get on quite well with this, so there's a lot in here, okay? But what I like about it is how it's laid out and how clear it is. So, you know, when you go in, and also as well, when you set everything up, that's pretty much it. So for instance, if you go into your assist button here, or your drive button, why is it not coming up with that? Is it because I'm not on? That could be it. It's probably, it's kind of switched itself off there. But when you go into it, it's all clearly laid out. There's nothing, you don't have to delve, there's not many layers to go through, is what I'm trying to say. Like that. Right, there's one physical button back here, which is the volume control, which again, plain pause in it there, which is beautifully illuminated and so tactile to use. It feels like you're just doing the bezel on a watch. I love that. And then left and right, obviously for your track selection or whatever. Wireless charging pad there. I will say that the only thing is, I'd like that to be a little bit bigger and a bit grippier. I found my big phone sliding along it and not being charged. That's the downside. And there's a little bit of reliance on that kind of piano black plastic, gloss black plastic there, which I'm not keen on. That's the only thing. Storage is excellent. You've got the big kind of, this is a kind of floating console. You've got the sort of the open console down the bottom there. Like the back, you've got huge big door bins that are rubber lined on the bottom. Moving across, and there's also a big cubby in there, which I can nearly get my arm in, which is good. 2 cup holders. You can see I've got my coffee and my water bottle there. Snack bars there, and that covers when you're not using it, so that's great. Driver display. Really, really nice kind of driver display on the car. I know why it's not working, because I've got the key card in my pocket. That's why. The key card now. Put that there. There you go. See, it's all up now. Now you can change this display up here. So at the moment I've got it so the navigation. This is my only little bugbear with the interior. You've got the buttons on the steering wheel here, but they're not, I don't know what they do. You've got to press them to find out what they do. And only then, again, it's kind of, see that one there now changes your display to show what you want. I didn't know that until I started fiddling with it. I'd quite like that to have some little icons on it. I don't even know what that one does. It's probably cruise control. You see what I mean? They're not marked. So whilst I get your design, Polestar, I'd quite like to know what they do. That's my only real fault within here, other than that black plastic. The material on the top of the dash is this kind of neoprene, almost wetsuit material. Again, it's all recycled material, and again, this kind of micro knit that goes around the car, which is really, really nice. And again, I used to have this kind of material in my Volvo C30, my T5. It was really nice. It's almost like a wetsuit material. It just feels nice. The drive selector is up here as a column stock, and then obviously on this side what you have here is your wipers, lights, and your front windscreen washer and your rear washer as well. Again, like the outside, you've got a frameless interior mirror here. The seats are the last thing that I want to talk about, which are just beautifully comfortable. As we've come to expect, Polestar, Volvo, they're exactly what you want. They hold you in all the right places, they support you right, nice head restraint, inbuilt speakers obviously in this one. They are electrically operated, but you do have a manual extension to the front squab, so long distance driving is lovely. The steering wheel is just the right size and just the right girth for holding, so that is excellent. So as far as I'm concerned, the interior is as good as the exterior. The big key thing for me is the design of it. It is quite easy to use this. You know, as I say, it maybe didn't look at first when you first look at it, but I have to say, when you go into it and you want to change things, you know, when you bring things up, see, all the nice little tiles, and as I say, you change them there, and you sit, and that's it. Your one pedal driving, it's either off, low, or standard. Steering feel, you've got three different settings for that, 3 different settings for the suspension, power delivery, 2 different settings. So there's no eco, normal, and sport. It's either range or performance. You choose what you want. And then you've got the height adjustment for the suspension as well there that does that. Again, it will describe what it actually does. So I like all that. It is easy to use. It's very, very good. And obviously there'll be over-the-air updates as the car progresses through its life. So design, ease of use, but it's the use of materials and the talk of sustainability that I think is key with this car. And because of the materials they've used and because of the space you have, like the back, it feels more luxurious than its competitors. They've knocked out the park as far as I'm concerned with this one. Wow. Now, battery size, 111 kilowatt hours of battery, which is charged through here. 250 kilowatts of charging speed available. Excellent charging speed. It should give a WLTP range of up to 390 miles according to the WLTP scale. However, if you option it with the performance pack, because you get the bigger wheels and tyres, that drops it down to about 350 miles, so just be aware of that. There is, however, coming out later in 2024, we were told this morning, they are also going to do a single motor version of this car, which obviously will have a longer range than that. So that's going to be excellent, you know, because I mean, 390 miles is quite long, so if they can get it over that 400 miles, but it's a big battery in fairness. The car also comes with bi-directional charging, so that's going to be on the car as well, so you can, you know, vehicle to load type scenario, so you can charge up external devices. It comes with standard with an 11 kilowatt onboard charger as well, so if you've got that faster 3-phase electricity, then obviously you can charge it up from that. Now obviously with 250 kilowatts of charging speed, although it's a big battery, but you can of course imagine you're going to go from your 10 to 80% in that 30-minute type of scenario as well. Charging up from full from a 7 kilowatt wall box is going to take some time, however, so think about it's going to be overnight, isn't it? It's going to be sort of like around about 12-13 hours for such a big battery as that, if not a wee touch more. So that's coming on. However, you do also get a heat pump as standard on the car as well, so its efficiency should prove very, very good indeed. The other interesting thing with the car as well, and I'll mention this when we're out driving it in the performance and handling section, is if you're just driving along in along a motorway, 70 miles an hour, honest officer, what it will do is it will decouple the rear motor. So it's just being driven by the front motor to help with efficiency. But at the back, there is a twin clutch. It's torque vectoring twin clutch system that's operating on the back motor, a Borg and Warner system. And I'm told, whilst you have this on internal combustion engine cars, it's the first time this has ever been done on an EV, where that will actually disengage the clutch system and the rear motor to allow the car to be much more efficient. So again, as well as design, as well as practicality, luxury, sustainability, we've got efficiency. Now, when you get the Polestar 3 out on the open road, it becomes more evident than ever that Polestar's heritage is firmly rooted in motorsport engineering, because this thing handles incredibly well. And I mean incredibly well. Let's talk about just raw numbers for a second. So at the moment, you can just get the dual motor car. There will be a single motor car will come out for ordering later in 2024. But at the moment, it's just this dual motor car, which puts out a standard 489 brake horsepower with 840 Newton meters of torque. However, if you plump for the performance pack that's fitted to this car, that power jumps to 517 brake horsepower and 910 Newton meters of torque. Your 0 to 60 time doesn't plummet. It's 4.8 seconds on the standard car, 4.5 in a performance pack car. But it's not just the way the car accelerates that impresses, it's how it handles. It is incredible. You've got double wishbones up the front, you've got an integral multi-link axle at the back. I don't know, I just genuinely don't know how they've done it. This is a big car. You know, I mean, it's 5 meters long, it's, you know, it weighs over 2 tons, but I've not driven an SUV, electrically powered or not, that handles like this one. This is absolutely beautiful. You can just string a set of bends together and it responds so well. It gives you such nice feedback without sort of like being too artificial. There's nothing artificial really with the car. Yes, okay, the steering has a tiny little bit of deadness to it. It's not quite as communicative as you'd expect from sort of like something that has a pure rack and pinion hydraulic setup. But God, it's not far off it. Now, if you're a regular viewer of AutoEV, you'll know that I'm a massive fan of the Polestar 2 BST 270. And I took that car up to my favourite road in Scotland. And again, it's the chassis work that impressed me, not the power. The power is neither here nor there, because you can have all the power in the world. If you can't make it go around a corner, what's the point? But goodness me, have they done an incredible job with this car. I mean, I'm just coming up, I mean, we've climbed quite a bit. What's the altitude? 1,800 meters above sea level we are on this lovely, very foggy now, mountain road up in Spain. And it's just incredible the way that this car has dealt with it. It really is. And yet on the way here, on the motorway, it was quiet, it was serene, it was comfortable, the air conditioning on, I had my music playing, and it didn't feel any different. Now, let me talk a little bit about the setup that you get in the car, because you can adjust it. And it goes a little bit further, it goes a bit beyond rather the usual kind of eco, normal and sport. Polestar don't really go in for all of that. So you don't really have all of that kind of stuff. What you have here is, so on the screen you choose how you want it and you can set it up. And obviously you can choose shortcuts as well. So you can sort of like have them in there. But if I go into, where are we? Oh, hang on, I'm going the wrong one there. If I go into the car settings there, and I go up to settings, and then you have all the tiles that come up. So drive, assist, chart, all the rest of it. You go into drive, and it's quite simple. It is really very simple. So you've got creep, on or off. So in other words, you know, does the car creep forward like a normal automatic, on or off? And I love the way Polestar designed this in terms of the aesthetics. In other words, if it's orange, if it's shown up orange, that means it's on. So you can easily see at a glance what you've chosen. So I've got creep off, you've got ESC on. You can raise the suspension because obviously it's air suspension, it's adaptive dampers, and it's air suspension. It goes through 60 millimeters of travel from its lowest setting to its highest setting in terms of drive. So you're out on the motorway, you want pure aero, the car will hunker down. If you need to go off-road, I don't know, you live up a farm track, or you're up in the sort of like, this is a ski resort up here. You know, so if it was snowing, you need a bit extra ground clearance, you can raise the suspension up. But it's air suspension. and it will also obviously adapt to road conditions, so that's good. The steering feel, you've got three choices, either light, standard or firm. So on the motorway we had it just in the sort of like the standard mode and it's fine. Up here in the mountains I've changed it into firm, and yeah, it's okay. I drove the Polestar 4 yesterday. I can't tell you what it's like. I'm not allowed to tell you. You'll have to wait until next month until you see that report. What I will say is, however, this is better. The bigger car has better steering, I think. Right. You've got suspension. Standard, nimble or firm. I've got it in the middle. Nimble, what an interesting word to use. I've got it in the nimble setting. But if I change it to firm, now that we're on these kind of lovely kind of little hairpins on the way back down the mountain, it doesn't deteriorate the ride quality. But what it does is it really like flattens out the body control. So there's me pitching it into this left-hand bend. There's no roll, it stays nice and flat. I adjust the car on the throttle. I'm staggered by this car. Absolutely staggered at how this thing drives. You've got the brakes. They're Brembo brakes, because obviously you get the, you know, with the performance part, but it doesn't matter because all the Polestar 3s are having these sort of like big Brembo brakes on them, and I think it's 400mm ventilated cross-drilled discs up at the front, and jeepers does it haul this big thing up. It absolutely just hauls the car up, and it is lovely. But if you want a level of regeneration, basically you've got three levels. It's either off, you have low regen, or standard regen. So one pedal drive is Polestar. I've got it in here as the menu, and I've got it in the low setting. So you can set the car up, and you can set up profiles on the vehicle as well, which is quite clever. But honestly, I promise you this is an E-segment SUV, premium SUV, and I am going down these little hairpins like I'm driving a sports car. This thing drives beautifully. It's simply in a class of its own when it comes to how this drives with regards to its contemporaries. You cannot believe you're driving a big luxury SUV on this tight mountain hairpin road. There's a van in front of me though, that's getting really irritating. But that's the other thing as well. You don't have normal eco and sport when it comes to sort of like the performance. You've either got range or performance, so you choose which one is going to be more convenient to you at the time. So you know, you're on the motorway, you want more range, you press that one. You don't need the high performance. You're on a nice sort of like, you know, little kind of back road like this or mountain road like this, then you get yourself into sort of like, you know, the performance section, the performance setting, and you just get all of that power dolloped to you. Sorry, I want to really slow down with this guy in front. Now, the motors. So it is four-wheel drive. You have got two motors, well, obviously one on the front axle, one at the back. When it's just coasting along for efficiency, it will decouple the rear motor, so it disengages the rear motor for efficiency. However, and it's quite clever because it actually has dual, it has torque vectoring dual clutch at the motor at the back. So you can, it's the first EV to have it. It's a Borg Warner setup, and as I say, it's the first EV to have it. Let me just squeeze past this guy. So I want to get a bit of a hustle on here. Oh yeah, look at that, and then you just hook it in, hook it into that hairpin, and round it goes. God, it's got grip. And then it just slings you out the corner on the other side. Beautiful brake feel, stunning steering feel into the bend, and then just apply power. It's a real sort of like, you know, driver's car. You sort of like the slow in, fast out approach is what you want here, because it is rear bias when both motors kick in. It's a more powerful rear motor, and there's more bias towards the back. So for efficiency, it thingies the front one, it decouples the rear, as I was saying. But when you're in the performance side of it and you're getting a bit of a hustle on like I am now, then it gets both motors working, but it is rear biased, and you can really feel it. You can feel it dig in at the back and just get you around the corner. God, it's incredible. It doesn't feel its weight. They told us this morning, you know, in the pod, they said push the car, really push it, and you'll see what it's like. And you just think, you know, it's still an SUV. I would not drive a BMW iX like this, and I like the iX. I think it's a great car to drive, but it's not this. A Mercedes EQE SUV, I wouldn't see which way this thing went. This is staggering. I cannot believe the speed I am carrying down this mountain. And it's just dealing with it. You can hear luggage and stuff rolling around in the car. I'm just carrying so much speed, and far too much speed. But it is just incredible. I genuinely thought they were having us on this morning when they said really, really push the car. And I thought, no. This is outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Just a couple of other little things to talk about before I get really carried away myself and forget what I'm doing. The other thing that's really important when you're driving like this is your driving position, and you can, because of the design of the car, and you do feel that you're sitting a little bit lower, you feel that you're sitting in the car and it's kind of wrapping itself around you. These seats are excellent. I mean, Polestar seats I think are best in the business. And it's no different here. You can extend the squab out, as I say, and you've got good lateral support down the side. The steering wheel, the relationship you have with the wheel, it's just the right diameter for me. It's the right thickness as well. As I've said, my BMW iX2 I think is just too thick on the steering wheel rim. This is just right, I think. And you get good visibility around the car. There's a little bit, just that over shoulder visibility where the rear end kind of kicks up. That's a little bit of a blind spot, but you get reasonably good mirrors, so that's probably not too much of a problem. The weight of the controls is the other thing that I do want to talk about, is because when you're not using the regen, the brake pedal feel is really linear. It's got a lovely progressive feel to it. It does feel like you are actually stopping the car. It's not reliant on that motor, on that regen, and you don't feel the transition between regen and physical brakes. There is no deadness to the pedal. It's just a nice linear push through, and it feels like it's always the actual physical brakes that's stopping the car. There's no regen in play, although it is. And then lastly is just the ride comfort. I mean, this car's on the 22-inch alloy wheels, because obviously it's got the performance pack fitted, but the ride quality is just off the scale. Now, we are on some beautifully smooth Spanish tarmac. That's the only thing I will caveat it with. But the air suspension means that, you know, they've just got, I'm going to say, because of the way it handles, that they've got the spring and the dampers ratings absolutely spot on, because you feel enough so that if there's a surface change or there's a little kind of camber or whatever, you can feel what's happening underneath you, but it's not making any sort of like unwanted inward sort of like transitions to the cabin at all. I'm genuinely blown away by this car. I knew it was going to be good. I just had no idea how good it was going to be. It's staggeringly good. Polestar, you have an absolute winner on your hands with this thing. This is magnificent. Pricing. Forgive the notebook, because this was all kind of given to us a little bit this morning, so I just want to talk about the pricing of the car a little bit. So basically, the car's coming out, obviously it was a launch edition, which every manufacturer does. For the 24 model year cars, that's all gone. They've all been sold now. And they came with the Plus pack and the Pilot pack as standard with those cars. And they were £79,900, I think, £79,900. The car without those, so when the car you can now order, if you don't have those, because the launch edition you had to have them, if you don't have those, the price has dropped obviously to £75,900, I think that is. Did I get that right? I did, £75,900. Now, as I say, later in the year there is going to be a single motor car that come out, which obviously you can expect will probably be a wee bit cheaper as well. But the options are going to change as well, because one of the things that the Polestar 3 has that I've not mentioned about is LiDAR. Now, I don't really understand all of this tech. It's way above my pay grade to understand stuff like that. But basically the LiDAR, it doesn't just use cameras, it uses radars and stuff like that. And the Pilot Pack is going to be available with LiDAR from next year. And that gives it an extra 3 additional cameras and something, because the LiDAR is from Luminar. Sorry, I'm just reading this now. And it includes the pilot assist and lane change ability. It has 5 radars, 5 cameras, 12 sensors. And the LiDAR means it has 3 additional cameras on top of that, which is going to help with all the safety systems on the car. Now, I'm not a big lover of all these safety systems, which seem mandatory. I think if you're a driver, you should be able to drive the car. But you can obviously turn all that stuff off, and obviously it is an option. You don't have to have it. But just be aware, that is coming out. But in terms of pricing, when it starts, £75,900 before anything else, or £79,900 with a couple of options. So it is getting a bit punchy on price. So what else might you be considering if you're looking at the Polestar 3? Well, I've mentioned a couple of the rivals so far throughout this review. Of course, there's your BMW iX, the Mercedes-Benz EQE, as well as obviously Audi's new Q8 e-tron. Now, interestingly enough, all 3 of those cars are available with performance variants, if you like. So you can have the iX M60, you can have the Mercedes-Benz, Mercedes AMG EQE SUV, and of course the Audi SQ8 e-tron. But in terms of price, they're a lot more. I mean, you're 6 figures before you're into those cars. So this is actually a lot less money. So as much as I've just sat there and gone, the price can get quite high with this car, actually when you look at the rivals, especially when you talk about the performance and the equipment levels that's on the car, this is turning out to be, I'll stop short of calling it a bargain, but you can see what I'm saying. And that's before we've talked about aesthetics, design, sustainability. None of them talk about sustainability and design the way Polestar do. Interesting. There's a couple of others that are coming out that you maybe need to think about as well. So Maserati, they've got their Folgore range, their all electrified range. And there's the Grecale. So it's a slightly smaller car, but it's quite pricey. So that could be a rival that you're going to think about for this car. And interestingly enough, there's one more rival that Polestar spoke about this morning. And I thought it was quite interesting that they did it. They mentioned the Porsche Cayenne. They see that as a rival for this car. Now you're going to sit there and go, yeah, but the Porsche Cayenne's not electric. That's the bit I find quite interesting, because I think we're now at a point where, like we did with Tesla in fairness, where you don't have to just compare EV to EV. They are as good, if not in some cases better, than their internal combustion engine contemporaries. So why not mention the Cayenne as a rival for the Polestar 3? Because performance, handling, styling, luxury, price, premium badge, it's all there. Brave move, Polestar, and I like that. So here's what we like and what we don't like about the new Polestar 3. What we like is styling, both inside and out. The message of sustainability from the company itself. The performance and the chassis dynamics that the car offers. The fact that it feels so luxurious inside and spacious. And the image of the brand of Polestar. We don't like. Well, those interior buttons on the steering wheel aren't quite clearly defined. And the option packs only add to the price. Otherwise, we really can't fault it. When I did my sneak peek with this car at Goodwood last year, I usually end a sneak peek by sort of like saying, it's going to have to wait till we drive it, till we give a full definitive verdict on the car. And obviously, I was really looking forward to driving the Polestar 3 because I thought, well, the early signs were looking good. It should be a good car. I don't think I realised just how good a car it was going to be. This has genuinely blown me away how good this product is. And it's not just the product. That's the thing with the company. That's the thing I absolutely love about Polestar. It's the way that they embrace the whole brand, the way they talk about the design of it, the sustainability, the use of materials, the way they drill down into details like font sizes and, you know, sort of like just little bits of detail around the cars. It shows that they care, not just about the environment, but it shows that they care about their customers, their drivers. They're really thinking outside of the box, and I think that has to be commended. Now, you can say that a lot of electric car companies do that type of thing. Of course they do, because they don't have that legacy to kind of think about from before, the heritage to think that they're not stuck in their ways. They think with a clean sheet of paper. The difference with Polestar, however, is they do have a history. They have a history of motorsport engineering and pedigree, and that shines through in the Polestar 3. Be under no illusion, not only is this Polestar's best product to date, it's the best car in its class by a country mile. It's sensational. Thank you for watching yet another episode of AutoEV. As always, make sure that you're subscribed. I told you before. Do that now. Press the little bell button down below and then you'll be notified of when our next video is uploaded and it's gone live. If you've enjoyed this week's road test review from an enjoyably warm but slightly overcast Spain, then please make sure that you press the wee bell button down below. And of course, as always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think of the Polestar 3? Have you got one on order? Are you about to go and order a BMW iX or an Audi Q8 e-tron? Stop. Trust me. Wait till you drive this. You'll change your mind. But let me know in the comment section if you do, down below. Do you disagree with me? Do you not see what the fuss is all about? Let me know your thoughts down below. Now remember, we're also across all social media platforms, so Facebook, X, what's the other ones? TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, we're there too. So make sure you give us a wee follow there too, because that does help the channel. Now, if you're in the market for an electric car, it might not be a new one, like the Polestar 3, maybe it's a used one. Maybe you're thinking about, I'm going to buy like a little cheap Renault Zoe, you know, and see how I get on with electric cars. But you need to know all the information about it. Stay on the YouTube channel because there's a back catalogue now of over 200 videos. If it's been a new electric car that's hit the UK market in the last 4 or 5 years, we've put it through the road test review that actual car buyers trust when it came to choosing their next electric car. Of course, the AutoEV one. So all the details that you need, you'll find there. All that remains for me to say is thank you once again for watching. Thank you for continuing to support the channel. I need to go and catch a plane back now to the UK and leave this here, which is a bloody shame. But I'll see you again soon.